Hello, Dr. Loretta Ferrucci here from Your Ideal Body, and today I'd like to discuss the power of fasting. So many of you watching this video are about to embark on a 6 or 10-day therapeutic fast at the St. Francis Health Hydro. Some of you might be embarking on the therapeutic fast, which is part of the Whole Body Reset program that I offer online, and some of you may just be interested in fasting or may be embarking on a fast of your own. So the first time I did a therapeutic fast happened to be at the St. Francis Health Center, and it was in, I think, 1989 or 1990. I was 19 years old. My mom wanted to go. It had recently opened. I was really into health. I was studying to be a homeopath and dead keen. So off I went. And I also wanted to lose a few kilograms. I'd had a weight problem, yo-yo weight problem for most of my young life at that point. And I was actually at one of my best body weights ever and needed, of course, as always, people always do this, just needed to lose another 2 or 3 kilos. So that was my game plan. My game plan was I was going to do this fast so that I could lose these 3 extra kilos that I needed to lose. I found the diet incredibly challenging. I found the detoxification difficult. I had food cravings. I thought about food constantly. I was hungry. I complained. I moaned. I whined. I had physical detoxification symptoms, and I essentially found it incredibly difficult. And I found it very difficult because I couldn't distract my busy mind. I was alone with myself, and that was really difficult. And I didn't have the emotional maturity or the tools to understand the value of what I was unearthing at this stage of my life. Anyway, I was incredibly happy when the 6th day rolled around and I could go home, but I was also incredibly happy because I felt amazing. My skin was clear. I'd lost the 3 or 4 kilos. I can't remember how many it was. And I felt absolutely energized and amazing and ready for a new year. Subsequently, I have been to the St. Francis Health Center many times, usually precipitated by some sort of crisis, either crisis in my physical health or crisis in my mental or emotional health. And so I always used to think about fasting as something you do when you're absolutely desperate. Fortunately, I've matured in my thinking, and I realize that fasting is something that you can do so that you don't become absolutely desperate. And that is my approach to fasting currently. What I've also realized is that the more you do it, the easier it becomes because you know what to expect. You get to understand and know the experience better. So, fasting is about the weight, but it's not only about the weight. In fact, it's about so much more than the weight. The weight literally is an aside. It is very important in terms of detoxification, but it's not actually only about the physical detoxification. It is about so much more than that. So, what happens when we fast? Well, this is not in any kind of order, guys, but one of the things that happens only when we fast, and we can only activate this through fasting, is a process in our body called autophagy. So autophagy is a process where certain chemicals or enzymes are released within the cell, and those enzymes actually destroy the toxins and the junk protein in the cell. It's an intercellular cleanup. So with normal detoxification, when I say what we think of as detoxification, the toxins in our bloodstream get flushed through our livers and our kidneys and eliminated via our bladder and our large intestine and our lungs. And that's what we understand as detoxification. But toxins accumulate inside our cells, and they're not always eliminated effectively. And there's junk protein that accumulates inside the cells because of certain cellular functions that don't work well. And autophagy actually goes and mops that up. So you get a spring clean in each and every one of your trillion cells when you fast. Now, the good news is you don't have to fast therapeutically for 7 or 10 days in order to get the benefits of autophagy. If you do an overnight 16-hour intermittent fast, you also activate autophagy. So it's a great idea to do that once or twice at least a week once you get through this particular process that you're going through right now. So the next thing that happens, or not in this order, but another thing that happens when we fast is we switch from external to internal nutrition. So we rely on external food sources to nourish us. And during fasting, we allow on our internal resources to nourish us. Now, if you think about that a little bit more than just food, it's literally we're creating inner resilience. We're relying on ourselves. We're not relying on the outside world. We're relying on what we find inside us and the resource that we have inside us in order for us to run our lives and move ourselves forward. That is a very, very powerful concept. So we also move from external distraction, from living in the outside world, our jobs and our families and our homes and all the rest, to actually opening the door to our inner world. And this is why, if you are not doing a therapeutic fast in a controlled environment, such as a health center, and you're doing it at home, it's really important that you take the time out and you take time off so that you can actually spend that time resting, being alone, introspecting, because then you will truly reap the most amazing benefits of the fast itself. Another thing that happens when we fast is that it's an amazing opportunity for us to connect to what physical hunger really feels like. So many people do not know what the physical sensation of hunger is. When you fast, you definitely learn what that physical signal feels like. And this equips you to respond to that physical signal for food when you come out of the fast, so that you don't actually respond to other signals with food, and when those signals don't require food. So Dr. Janine Roth, in a book that she wrote, I forget the title now, I apologize, on disordered eating, said that we've got two main types of hunger. We have stomach hunger, which is true physical hunger, that can be assuaged with food. And then we have heart hunger. And heart hunger can only be temporarily distracted with food. It cannot actually be soothed. It cannot be satisfied with food. And we very often struggle to distinguish between heart hunger and stomach hunger. And so what we do is, because heart hunger is a little bit more complex, and because heart hunger very often involves negative emotion, and heart hunger involves maybe doing something that's going to require a bit more effort and energy, we rather just feed ourselves to soothe. And that's actually how we develop a disordered relationship with food that actually doesn't serve us. So food is fundamental to our survival. I mean, we can all agree on that. Food is fundamental to our survival, and I would argue that our relationship with food is a direct reflection of our relationship with not just ourselves, but with the world. If you eat compulsively or really quickly, you've got to shovel it in before it runs out. That can mirror what you believe about the world. That certainly is one of my limiting beliefs. One of my limiting beliefs is I'm not good enough and that I don't deserve to get what I want. Which means that when I have something that I really want, like the food, I've got to get as much of it in as quickly as possible. I'm a very fast eater unless I'm very mindful about it. So, that is a connection that you can learn to make. And so that is a perception that I can change, that the world is an unsafe place. I mean, do I really want to live like that? Well, maybe I can't change my limiting belief about not being good enough, but I can become aware of how it shows up in my life, and I can choose something different. And this is the kind of thing that fasting can really highlight for us. This is why I would highly recommend that you journal your experiences here, because you'll be amazed at what you uncover, right? The more you're prepared to look, the more you will find. So fasting has been used as a tool to enhance spiritual connection in various spiritual traditions for millennia. In fact, the success of the Mediterranean diet, the Mediterranean diet was trialed, is actually based on the diet of the people who live in Crete. Yes, Crete. And the Cretians many Cretians belong to a faith which includes many fasting days. And in fact, there's speculation now that the health of the Mediterranean diet is as much attributable to the regular fasting as what it is to the actual food. So when you fast, you are able to deepen your spiritual connection. You can enhance your connection to that which is beyond your body and your mind. And so if you have a spiritual practice, or you'd like to start a spiritual practice, a great time to do this is when you're fasting, because that practice is deepened and enhanced because you're not so distracted. Also, it becomes easier for you to still your mind over time when you go through the fasting experience. So, of course, we also detoxify. We detoxify physically, we can detoxify mentally and emotionally, because our minds eventually start quieting after a couple of days, and our bodies, the withdrawal symptoms start decreasing, and the detox headache goes away if you have one. And our emotions also very often settle. Now, during the detoxification process, we may find that there are emotions that rise. In Oriental medicine, there's no differentiation between physical, mental, and emotional. And so each physical organ has what is called an organ function energy, an energetic function, and each one of those organs has a coupled emotion. So, for example, the primary organs that are used during detoxification are your liver and your kidney. And the emotion of the liver is anger and resentment. So, irritability, frustration. When people start working on your PIP, when everything irritates, when you're irritated because of the stupid diet that you have to do or whatever it is, okay? That irritation and that anger is normal. You may have a lot of suppressed latent anger that you may feel coming up. Emotions want to be felt, they don't want to be fixed. Journaling is really useful for this, or just actually being able to sit and feel the anger. You don't have to worry about where it comes from. You don't have to make a story about it. You literally have to just feed it in order for it to dissipate. Now, that sounds very simple, but most of us have no idea how to do that because we spend our lives suppressing or distracting or denying that we have emotions. But emotions accumulate in your physiology when you haven't felt them. And so when you do the detoxification process, you may find those emotions emerging. The kidney is associated with fear, subconscious fears, those survival fears, not good enough, not enough time, not enough money, not enough love, not enough, beauty, the things that we think we're going to run out of, right? The things that we think we have to survive. That is associated, those unconscious survival fears, they're associated with the kidney. So you might find your anxiety initially ratcheting up. That could just be because your kidney is busy detoxifying and you're experiencing the emotion associated with it. The large intestine is associated with sadness and grief. So, underneath the anger very often sits the sadness. And those emotions, as I say, are there. They are making themselves known for a reason and they want to be felt. So the more you can sit with them, the more you will allow them to dissipate. Emotions are like waves of energy. They come in from the horizon, they peak, they break, they roll into the shore, and then they recede. But if you deny them and suppress them, they accumulate and they don't recede. So if you find it difficult to sit with those emotions, then journaling about them is a way for you to actually get them to come up. And that is probably going to come up during your fast. So do be aware of that. And remember, as soon as it comes from the unconscious into the conscious, then you can do something with it, right? So this is really useful. Now, of course, the weight loss is going to happen. So you do need to know that part of that weight loss is going to be water. Some of it, a small amount, may be lean muscle mass, and some of it is going to be fat. There's a limit to how much fat you can metabolize in 6 or 10 days, all right? And so this doesn't mean that, you have to go, oh, well, I did all the suffering to lose these 5 kilos, but now Loretta said only really, 1.5 is fat, and now I'm just going to, no, it's not about that. It is about the benefits that you get from fasting to your metabolism, because the fasting can literally reset your metabolism. It helps to balance your hormones, it resets your metabolism, and it increases the production of something called growth hormone. And growth hormone helps you lay down muscle mass. So because there is a risk that you'll lose some lean muscle mass during the fast, it's really important that you do some mild exercise while you're fasting. Very mild, okay? A walk, a swim, a stationary bike, water aerobics, something like that, right? Something that's not too strenuous, especially in the liquid days. And then as you start reintroducing the food and your energy levels start increasing, you can start exercising a little bit more. And by the time you transition out of your fast, you can actually go back to your ordinary exercise regimen. Or if you haven't started one, you can start one, because in those first 2 weeks post the fast, your growth hormone levels are optimal, and that means that you will lay down muscle much faster than usual, which means that you will recoup that lost lean muscle mass quick. So if you get on the scale the week after your fast and you're disappointed because you've gained 2 kilos, please be aware that at least 700 grams of that could be muscle if you have been exercising, and at least 1 kilogram of that is water, and you probably haven't metabolized more of the fat, all right? Provided that you've actually transitioned well and that you've kept your diet relatively clean in that post phase. So it is important to know that. So what else does it do? Well, it resets your taste. Your taste buds become more sensitive. You'll find that when you come out of the fast, everything tastes amazing, all right? The first apple I ate after the fast, the first banana I ate after the fast, or even like on day 3 or 4 during the fast, if you have fruit, it tastes unbelievable, right? So if you don't cloud that with very strongly aromatic food, like lots of preservatives, additives, sauces and things like that, if you keep the food relatively simple, doesn't mean tasteless, but relatively simple, and you flavor with salt and herbs, then you actually keep that sensitivity of the taste buds, and you can enjoy your food that much more. Another benefit, of course, is increased clarity. Initially, you may find your thoughts are going crazy. The stomach organ function energy is associated with thinking, all right? It's worry and anxiety and all the thoughts. So in the beginning, you can't switch your mind off. You can't turn off from work, You may not be able to switch off your thoughts, but you'll find that by day 3 or 4, those thoughts start calming down as your stomach shrinks. Your stomach organ function energy comes into harmony, your actual thoughts will calm down, and you will start having more mental clarity. And of course, you have an increase of energy as you move towards the end of the fast, which is absolutely wonderful because you come out of there feeling completely revitalized and re-energized. A really important thing to remember is that fasting can be either a punishing or a nourishing experience depending on your mindset. So if you think of it as being punitive, it's going to create stress in your body. You're going to produce cortisol. It's going to activate your sympathetic nervous system, and you're going to have fewer of the benefits. Whereas if you see the fast as the ultimate act of self-care, where you are actually going to take away the food, not to punish yourself, not to punish yourself because you've been bad, because you ate too much shit over Christmas or whatever, but actually as an act of self-nourishment, as an act of increasing your inner resilience and nourishing yourself optimally so that you can move into your future, continuing with that nourishment. That makes all the difference as to how punitive you find the process or not. So, what can you expect? Well, ideally, before you fast, now this might be a bit too late for those of you who've already started, but ideally you want to have a transition week where you take away the additives, the preservatives, the chemicals. So take away the caffeine, take away the alcohol, take away all the processed foods. And then you can do a slow transition in, or you can just do a straight in, right? So if you do, I prefer to do a slow transition in. So that's 2 days of what's called a mono food, so 2 days of very simple food like rice and veggies, or fruit only, or, steamed potatoes and vegetables, something like that. And then follow that with the liquid days. The liquid days are truly when the real therapeutic value of the fast starts. Now, on day 1, you're going to be okay, a little bit grumpy, a little bit hungry, but not too bad. By day 2, you might feel a lot hungry because your stomach hasn't quite shrunk yet. And you might be super grumpy because you may have a headache. And you may notice that you have a sticky film in your teeth and your tongue is coated and you have a bad taste in your mouth. All perfectly normal. If you drink a lot of water, especially if you drink warm water, if you make sure to move your body, even if you're not feeling great, don't push it too hard, but at least move it so that you stimulate it. If you can have a massage, so if you're at the St. Francis Health Center, you are in the perfect place to actually get through that really quickly. And then once you've moved through that, by the time you get to day 3, normally your stomach is shrunk. You're not as hungry. You still want food, but a lot of that is the mind. Those cravings are mind cravings, and that is gold. That is inner gold, because that can give you so much information about yourself. It's not about the food. It's what you're projecting onto the food. It's what are you really hungry for? So if you can ask yourself, what is it that I'm really, really, really hungry for in the depths of my being? It's at this point that you really can start finding answers to those questions. By the 4th day, you usually are starting to eat some more food and you're starting to feel a little bit better, maybe not quite so energetic, but better. And by the 5th day, generally, your skin is clear, your eyes are shining, your skin feels soft and beautiful, you are starting to feel light. You've definitely felt like you've started shedding some excess weight. You've moved through the emotional difficult time and you are into that place where you're starting to feel more energized and more revitalized. So that's what you can expect. Coming out of the fast and transitioning out of the fast is just as important as going into it. And so it is really important that you don't hit the ground running on day 7 with, pizza and wine. Because you're going to feel terrible. You're going to feel you're going to feel emotionally terrible, and you're going to feel physically not that great, right? So transitioning out of the fast is just as important as moving into it. And for that purpose, I've put together a short little program that is available at the St. Francis Health Center for you to help you transition through your fast effectively, and also help you to actually move into the future, your future relationship with food, your weight, your body, your health and eating. So I hope that you will avail yourself of that opportunity to get that program. It's going to be available at St. Francis Health Centre. They'll tell you all about it. For those of you who are doing the therapeutic fast with me, I will give you the information, obviously. And if you want to know more about this, you are welcome to contact me directly, and I can help you out with that. So I hope that you found this useful. I hope it wasn't too boring. I hope that this has helped to empower you on your fasting journey. So please remember, internal nutrition is the bomb, because it helps to make you internally resilient, mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually. This is a time for you to connect with yourself. This is a time for you to find out what physical hunger is and what are the other hungers that you need to satisfy in different ways in your life. This gives you a wealth of information on how it is that you can move your life forward to optimal health and high vitality. Thank you so much for your attention.